Cool. Hello. Good morning. Welcome. Thanks for the introduction, and welcome everybody to Brand Innovators and South by Southwest. I'm excited to be here with Woodie Hillyard, co-founder, as our introduction said, of W. So she already mentioned that you co-founded it with Jake Paul, influencer, creator, and boxer now. And do you want to just tell us a little bit about kind of what was the spark behind the brand? Like, how did it come together? Was it your personal background? Was it relationships you had, or something in the market that you saw that needed there?
For sure. I think there were a few things that led to me starting W with Jake. I think throughout my career, I started in consumer at Casper back in the day when it was 20 people, disrupting kind of the direct-to-consumer business. And there we were, we were benefiting from the arbitrage you had in Facebook ads, and I saw that go away pretty quickly. I was running their e-commerce business, which was a $300 million business, and it was hard to get people's attention. Was lucky enough to help start a Kardashian brand 4 years ago, and really got to see the power of influencers, and then really fell in love with going retail first with that brand. We launched in Walmart, and I saw that was really where the opportunity to reach the American consumer was. So Jake and his team reached out to me about 2.5 years ago, just because I had the experience in the space. And we really aligned on the mission of wanting to launch brands for America, not just focus on brands that are going to succeed in Erewhon and Whole Foods, really launching brands that can have scale and disrupt. And we really did that in a big way. And also in the category, we just loved this category because there really hadn't been a new brand entrance at mass since Axe launched in 2002. So we just felt like we had permission to win, and his demographic, which is young men as young as 8, ranging up to 35, really wanted something that represented them as a generation, and there really wasn't anything out there. And so he was super passionate about it. And there's a story he has of going into a pharmacy to buy deodorant because his assistant was busy, and all the brands on shelf were the same brands he saw when he was in middle school. And he was like, this is crazy. Like, how has no one disrupted this aisle? And, the problem child now, the boxing star loves to disrupt and shake up industries. So what better industry to shake up than the $46 billion men's personal care industry in the United States?
Yeah, I love that story. And you also launched in Walmart and broke some of their new brand records, I hear.
Yeah, we were lucky enough. I launched the brand in Walmart, previously, so we had the relationship there, and we went and met with them, and they just loved the vision, loved the opportunity to bring something new to their customer. And they wanted to go big. We launched in every Walmart in America, which was a huge risk to take as a new brand. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone, but it was an awesome opportunity for us. And Jake really got behind it. They really got behind us. And the cool thing about going so big in Walmart is, you guys all know this stat, but 90% of America lives within 10 miles of a Walmart. So if you want to reach consumers, there's no better place to go than Walmart, especially if you want to reach kind of the American consumer, which is really what we were going after. So that was a big focus for us. And we in our first 8 weeks, we had more velocity than any other new brand they've launched in the category. So they've been super excited with the partnership and keep leaning into us, and we keep leaning into them, and they're a great partner for us to get our product out there and into the hands of consumers.
I love that. So sometimes new brands, I think, can struggle a little bit with differentiation, especially with a market that's sort of tried and true. So what would you say are the greatest differentiators of the W brand, whether it's the inspiration behind it or how it's showing up in the stores or on social media or, with a partner like Jake Paul?
For sure. I think there's a few things we've really tried to differentiate on. One is our name is just W, the letter. It's pretty audacious. It stands for win, and it's part of the vernacular of this younger generation. We really wanted to own that. The packaging's right there in the back. If anyone wants to grab some, feel free to take it. we really wanted to disrupt the shelf. That's like one of the rules in retail. You have to disrupt the shelf, make sure the consumer can see your brand from 30, 10, 5 feet away. And we chose bold colors, big logo, very different graphical structure than any other brand in our category. So that was a big piece of it, just trying to differentiate there. And then when we launched, we did something really, really fun and disruptive. It was Jake's idea. I think we're the only brand that has done this at scale. We sent people gifting kits with AI deepfakes of themselves from the future in them, telling them that they needed this brand because they had, some sort of problem, whether it's they're smelling and scaring girls away, or they lost a contract because no one could sit around them in the locker room, and that got over 200 million impressions on social media, and we had a ton of fun with it. So I think just doing things like that are really organic and just fun and resonate with this younger consumer. And then I think also just on social, being able to use Jake's platform. I think the coolest, probably my favorite data point we have on the business, which speaks to just how we're doing it differently, is the amount of organic content we see on social. We have a platform that tracks our tagged content and every other brand in our categories tagged content. And we have 2x. We've had over 7,000 pieces of organic tagged content since we launched 8 months ago, which is 2x more than any other brand in the category and 4x more than any of the challenger brands in the category. So I think it speaks to the fact that we hit a note. People want something that represents them and something that we're really excited about. And so those were a lot of the things we wanted to do to differentiate. And I think we're just getting started. We really want to build community, build connectivity with this younger generation. And Jake's super excited about that. And I guess speaking to the inspiration for the brand, you look at this younger generation of men, and a lot of this is data out there, but they're lonely, they're depressed. A lot of them are living at home, and that was a lot of the inspiration for the brand too. You start your day with a W, just trying to get this generation to be a little bit more confident, believe in themselves a little bit more. And I think the cool thing about Jake is all of these guys look at him as an idol. And whether you love or hate Jake Paul, I think it's hard to deny that the guy has unbelievable work ethic and vision. And I think that's what this generation really respects about him. So we're trying to tap into the fact that, this generation really believes in Jake, and he wants to have a really positive impact on them, in the long term.
Thanks for that background. I love that. And I think one of the taglines I've seen is work for the win. And I like that. And I think it really speaks into kind of building that confidence of the younger generation. And a lot of the things you've done since the launch sort of speak to that. And you already mentioned a couple of sort of high risk, high reward things that you've done since the launch, which, by the way, I think was just in July of 2024. So this is pretty amazing story so far. But what were some of the other things that you've done so far during the launch that made it seem just so big and kind of start that crazy growth right off the bat?
For sure. I think one thing I talk about with Jake a lot is just logo impression. I think one thing we've done really, really well is get our logo out there on people's screens. That is, especially on organic social, you can pay to serve a Facebook ad, but if you can get on someone's organic feed, that is really powerful. And that's one of the arbitrages that exists today. So I think one of the big things we've done is, we've decked Jake and his friends out in W logos, W merch, W products. And you've seen people like Saquon Barkley on ESPN wearing our merch, Little Yachty wearing our merch on his Instagram feeds. I think that's been something we really, it wasn't necessarily, it was a strategic initiative that you don't know if it's going to work, but I think it speaks to the fact that people are excited about this brand and they want to mess with it. A lot of brands wouldn't, you wouldn't want to wear a personal care brand's logo, but our logo is cool. It's fun. People want to be seen in it. So that's been really exciting. And then I think just one of the big risks we took is just going so big into retail. We didn't launch D2C when we launched because we wanted to concentrate our marketing dollars on amplifying the brand on social and driving people to retail. And that was definitely a big risk. There's a lot of easy revenue to take if you launch D2C and kind of get that massive bump. We committed to driving people to Walmart with our partner. And that could have not worked for sure. I don't think a brand has ever launched retail first in as big of a way as we did that I know of. So that was a huge risk. And I'm really happy we did it. It's worked out so far. It's a playbook that we want to execute on a lot of other brands as well in the future. But that was certainly one of the biggest risks that we had no idea if it would work from the beginning.
I love that. Yeah, you've definitely taken risks that a lot of more traditional brands wouldn't have done, and have had a lot of fun with the brand so far. So looking back at the launch, is there anything you would change in hindsight?
And you can always be better. I think one thing we're going to continue to do is just engage with our community. We brought on a lot of other influencers around Jake that hit different demographics, whether it's Livy Dunn is a partner of the brand. Sean O'Malley is a partner of the brand. I think I would probably have leaned into that even more, just like tapped into these other pockets of influencers to make sure we're on people's screens and hitting different demographics. But no, I mean, I think our launch was awesome. It was great. There's always things you can improve on. I think we're learning about how to execute in store with Walmart to hit our demographic better. I think the one really interesting learning we've seen is we got the young male to go into Walmart in droves in our first couple months to buy the product. And now, it's their mom buying. So I think that's one of the things we're really starting to pivot a little bit. Like, we're still getting that young male in store, but really it's their mom who's going to be the one buying it over and over again, or their girlfriend. So now it's starting to help them understand what the brand is about, and the fact that our products are free of parabens, sulfates, artificial dyes, a lot of these ingredients that the traditional players have in their products that aren't so good for you. Starting to help them understand that we're a better for you product that isn't trying to necessarily look like a better for you product on shelf, because we want you to be proud to have this in your gym bag or your DOP kit, which is really important to us.
Yeah, I love that. And I know you have some ambitious goals, like to be in every gym bag and
for sure, yeah, I think,
every locker.
I think back to when Axe was at its peak when I was in middle school and high school, and you were just spraying that all over yourself, not showering. I think, we want to have that, we want to be as prolific as Axe was in the 2000s for sure. Be in every gym bag, be in every locker room, and also find new territories to play. We're about look good, smell good, feel good. We want to bring confidence to young men. And I think that's going to lead us into some really interesting categories that, an Axe or an Old Spice or Dr. Squatch would not have permission to play. So there'll definitely be some fun things coming down the pike in the next 2 years that you would not expect from a men's personal care brand. But I think because we have Jake and we have kind of this really rampant community of fans behind us, we're going to be able to shake up a few categories that you wouldn't expect to see us in.
Yeah. All right. So for marketers looking for some potential white space, like, I would say this isn't necessarily a market that would have been obvious for like a challenger brand to come in and just blow up the scene like you all did. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts about how do you find that white space in a market that may already be somewhat saturated?
For sure. I think one of the things I tell people to do all the time, and it's one of my favorite things to do, is just like walk retail stores, like walk Walmarts, walk Targets, walk grocery stores, and you will start to see that there are just aisles where there haven't been new entrants. This was a big one. And then I think it's like a psychographic white space as well. I think we saw in this category, there's a lot of like what I call satirical lumberjack brands. There's a lot of brands like kind of poking fun at masculinity, which is very interesting. And then there are a lot of brands that are kind of more gender neutral, trying to sell to both men and women. And we saw a big white space for a brand that's just celebrating boys being boys and men being men. And that's really like kind of Jake's ethos. So I think there was a really interesting both white space on the shelf. We didn't see any brands standing out, disrupting the shelf in a new way, but we also saw a really interesting psychographic white space. And then especially in mass, I think there's a lot of brands that are better for you launching an Erewhon in Whole Foods that are really going to struggle to reach the Walmart consumer. So thinking about kind of those categories where there's an opportunity for a middle ground and a better for you story that isn't so premium is really, really interesting to me. So I think it's just about studying your consumer, watching people shop in store, and just walking aisles. Like I do that every opportunity I can. Just observe people shopping, see what they're doing in the aisle, and you will have those aha moments. I think that's really what led us to starting W and going after this category.
Great, thank you. And I think that's another differentiator of the product is it's a really approachable price point. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was really a deliberate decision we made. And this is a learning that Jake brought to us from his brother Logan launching Prime, which is, there's so many points of friction when it comes from switching from one brand or product to another brand or product. And price is one where we didn't want that to be a barrier to entry for us, just to make it an easy decision, especially in these inflationary times where, consumers' wallets are tight. I think thinking about how to, and that again gets to how much better does this product need to be than the competitor brands. If you can launch a product with an approachable price point, I think that gives you a really interesting opportunity to disrupt a category in a big way. Price point's super, super important on shelf, especially in retail. In direct to consumer, there's no cross comparison, but when you're in retail, you're on shelf, they're looking at the product next to you, and price point really, really matters.
Yeah, great point. So moving into out of the launch and into kind of what's next for the brand, I'm curious if your strategy is shifting sort of into new phases. What does that strategy playbook look like at this point for what's next?
Yeah, I think I teased it a little bit. I think one of the areas of focus for us is really going to be connecting with the mom, connecting with the female shopper for this category. So we're doing a lot of work there on the influencer side, trying to appear organic, be in people's feeds organically. And our product really is a better for you product designed with better ingredients. So telling the mom that story while still maintaining our cool factor in the organic feeds of the young male is going to be really, really important. And then retail expansion. Retail is about convenience, being where people shop. So we're going to be launching Amazon soon. We're going to be launching TikTok Shop soon, which are really organic native channels for this younger generation. So that's going to be, and I think as a social first brand, we have permission to play there in a big way. So those will be big strategy shifts for us. We kind of leaned in on Walmart and the convenience play there. And now it's about amplifying brand awareness. I think that's one cool thing I love, which is, we're 8 months old as a brand and we have 9% national brand awareness. Every month since launch, we've been doing a brand awareness study with our demographic, and you keep seeing it tick up every month, which is just so cool. And, 9% after 8 months, as you guys know, is very hard to do. So we're super excited about that. And we think starting to go to some of these more digitally native channels, I know I shop on Amazon a lot. I know we shouldn't, but it's easy. So I'm really excited to see the brand activate there. I think it's going to be a huge step function change for the business, as well as TikTok Shop. I think there's so much fun content to make with a brand about winning and being your best self. So we're really excited to activate there. That'll be a big strategy shift for us in the future.
Fantastic. And so you're also recently in H-E-B and Kroger, so congratulations on that. Can you talk a little bit about how those deals came into play and any suggestions for other brands trying to increase their product?
For sure. I think one of the things we really bring to the table, and it speaks to kind of that psychographic white space, finding that psychographic demographic white space in categories, we can bring a younger consumer to all of these retailers. I think we've proven that out with Walmart. And a lot of very few brands are going to get to prove it out with Walmart, but even, proving it out in a 50 door test, 10 door test, if you can prove that you're bringing a younger consumer to these retailers, they're all starved for it. So that was a really natural story for us to tell to these consumers with data, or to these retailers with data. And they were really, really excited about, getting younger consumers through their doors. And then I think also just there are a lot of these retailers are trying to learn how to do social media well. So if you can help them understand how to do social media, how to amplify their brand on social media, they are going to be so excited to sit down with you for an hour. And I think that's a lot of what got Kroger and H-E-B excited, was the ability to amplify their brands with our customer base. We've driven over 2 billion impressions on social media since we launched 8 months ago. So that scale is very attractive to them. So I think that's the other opportunity. If you don't have kind of a Jake Paul-esque founder with you, I do think the arbitrage opportunity right now is building organic social through community. So if you can kind of prove out that data point, bring it to these retailers, like you're gonna get opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So I guess kind of to wrap up, I would just ask, I'm curious whether you're like revitalizing an old brand or launching a new one. Is there any one like unconventional marketing tool? And maybe it's, well, social media is not so unconventional anymore, but anything else that you would recommend that brands kind of embrace?
I think one of the biggest things is trying to look different. Look different on shelf, like disrupt the shelf. I think like in CPG today, there are clear vintages of brand design where everything looks the same. And we specifically, like I went to our branding agency and I said, guys, like no more of that like Brooklyn branding agency stuff. If you give me a brand that I've seen before, like I'm firing you. Which was a big challenge for them. I'd worked them before on 2 other brands. And they gave us something that was very different. Nothing else looked like this in the market. I think looking different on pack is really, really important. It's super hard to do, and a lot of these branding agencies kind of do different flavors of the same ice cream. I think it's a really hard thing to do, but if you can look different and feel different, I think you will catch people's attention and you will have the permission to at least attempt to win and get that first purchase. And then you have to win them over with great product. I think great product always wins.
Love it. All right. Well, I know we're getting close to the end. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you feel like has been important for the success of the brand thus far?
No, I think we hit on a lot of it. It's about, really operating at scale on social and then operating at scale in brick and mortar, like really being available to the consumer and having a differentiated look and feel. Like that was the coolest thing about Walmart. We had a billboard in 4,300 stores around the US. And when you walk into a Walmart, you see our brand, it stands out. Something we're, really proud of. And then I think excited to just see what we keep doing as we're going into more of these digitally native channels. I think it's going to be really fun. We have some fun marketing moments coming up throughout the rest of the year. Jake has a few more fights. And our goal, I always tell the team, like, I don't really care about I want to activate IRL to feel big on the internet. So how do we feel bigger on the internet? How do we have these viral moments that are fun for people to share? Like one thing we did at one of his boxing events, we had Jake embraces the haters. So we had a boxing machine where you could punch Jake Paul in the face. And that got over 300 million impressions on social media because so many people shared it. And like thinking outside the box, like leaning into the hate, leaning into the disruption, like we're going to be doing a lot more of that over the next 12 months. Just like get the internet talking is really, really fun, really challenging. But if you can do it, and we've definitely had a few moments where it didn't work, but you got to just keep trying. I tell my team all the time, like, I don't really care if we fail. Like, let's just keep taking shots on goal.
I love it. You all are taking big risks and really taking advantage of those viral moments. And I think that's about all I had. There's product in the back. Check it out. We might have a few moments for a question or two.
Hi, I'm Pedro. I'm actually with a company called Winning, so we have that in common. And we are an AI tool that tracks culture. And my question to you is, you represent a brand that is associated to a big person online, and there's so many different things happening around Jake Paul, the beef with Canelo, and then his brother. And how do you track all of that? And how do you make decisions on what are we going to leverage? What are we going to cast aside? Because this is like, we don't want to touch that side of it. So how do you keep making those decisions throughout the relationship with Jake Paul?
For sure. It's a great question. I think one thing, a lot of it is, it needs to be more data driven just to be transparent. Cool to talk about your platform. A lot of it is like Jake understands his audience. So a lot of it is probably more art than science. But there is a lot of science, as Jake has been building, on social media since he was like the first YouTuber with 1 million subscribers when he was making videos in the woods of his house in Ohio when he was 13. I think he really understands his demographic and his customer. So a lot of what we lean into is what he's excited about, because he's our biggest amplification channel. So if he's excited about something and wants to push something, like that's usually what we'll lean into. Because if he's not excited about it, like we're not going to get the juice out of it. But I do think it's important, like, the whole mission of the brand is for W to stand alone. Like, we don't always want it to be viewed as a Jake Paul brand. It's like Skims is the example I always talk to the team about. Like, it's so much bigger than Kim now, but she's still a core part of the brand. So it's taking like the really good parts and the work ethic of Jake Paul and like amplifying it to this generation. But a lot of it right now is like, what is Jake excited about? But I think over time, we're going to need to get more data driven as we really try to get outside, like grow beyond Jake.
All right. Thank you so much for the question. Thank you to Woodie, and thanks to all of you.
Thanks so much, Era. Thanks, everyone.